Welcome to Autism Squeaks. I am Chipped and this is Gray.
Yeah, it's me.
This is our edutainment YouTube podcast presentation show. We cover niche things of interest. We present them in a presentation format. This time we're going to be talking about Total Drama and Dave from Total Drama, the nice normal guy at the Pocatello Island cast. Do you have anything you want to say about Dave before I jump into it? Or Total Drama as a whole?
I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe go over each of our relationships with the Total Drama series.
I'm more the Total Drama guy between the two of us. I'm the Total Drama guy. I've watched it a lot when I was a kid, and I watched it a lot more when I was like in 2020 during the lockdown. I got really into it. Talking about Total Drama as a whole, I like the show. I used to be super hyper autistic about it, but I'm less so into it nowadays. I think other shows are just more interesting to me, but I do still hold a soft spot for a lot of the characters and a lot of the earlier seasons and things of that accord. I still think about the show pretty often. And then we want to talk about your relationship for a bit with Total Drama?
I don't actually remember it that well, but I do remember distinctly watching like the episodes as they were coming out on Cartoon Network, like the first like 3 or 4 seasons or so. And I remember catching two or three random episodes of Pocatello Island after years of not watching the show because I was just like kind of bored one day, and I caught
Did they have
the
Dave in
scenes
them?
with Dave.
They had Dave in them? Oh
yes,
my god.
I caught the scenes with Dave, and I was like, wow, this is a really like funny and interesting character.
Really?
If I had caught almost any other scenes, I probably would have just turned the show off like this is boring and not cared. But because Dave was on screen, I just so happened to watch while Dave was on screen. I remember being like, wow, I like this character. So I looked into him, and we'll get into this later, but I did not agree with the general consensus on Dave.
We'll talk about the general consensus around Dave a little bit later, but for me, I always really like Total Drama. I like the format around the show. I like a lot of character interactions. I think as a whole, I do like season 1 through 3 pretty well. It's so talking about Total Drama. It originally came out in Canada. It was produced in Canada and was brought down into the States in 2007. That's when season 1 was. It was a very popular show at the time. It was probably the most popular show on Cartoon Network at the time. It was ironically not even produced by Cartoon Network. It was produced by Teletoon, I believe. If you were to ask me, I think season 1 and 3 are pretty well liked, and generally most people like season 1 through 3 as considered like the golden age of the series. Seasons 4 through 6 are kind of considered to be the rot years where people are really negative on them. Season 4 has a lot of defenders to it. I also kind of like season 4 a lot, but it definitely is worse than the first 3 seasons. And then 5 is just not great, horrible. A lot of character derailments, not that funny, not a lot of interesting stuff going on. And season 6 is the season we're going to be talking about, is also not very well liked because it's considered to be really boring and a lot of stuff just doesn't happen in it, which we'll see. It certainly is a season. There's also Ridiculous Race, which is my favorite season of Total Drama. It's instead of having a reality show Survivor format where people are voted off throughout the season, it's a race format, so they're able to focus a lot less on the characters having to ally with each other and like vote people off. It's focused purely on the duos trying to overcome. Total Drama likes to write a lot of duo relationships where characters kind of stick to each other and don't really talk to each other, which works in this show's favor because the characters are duos. And then there's the reboot season, which came out pretty recently in terms of like television. It's the most recent season, which is also a mixed bag. People are either like it or they really hate it. And there's also Disventure Camp, which we won't really be talking about, but it's its own fan series sported off Total Drama in response to how less serious the current season is. Disventure Camp is a whole can of worms, and it's maybe we'll talk about it one day, but probably not. There's also a baby spinoff, which I have zero interest in. I think it's funny that it exists because I have no idea if kids actually want to watch these characters. Because I can't imagine the kids of today are gonna want to watch a baby spinoff. The target demographic wouldn't have watched Total Drama as kids, right? So it's kind of weird as a baby spinoff. Apparently there's a lot of it, and there are some defenders of the show that say it's well written. I don't really have much interest in watching it, to be honest, but hey, maybe it's really good and I'll never know. And I don't really care. We're going to be talking about season 6. Season 6 is Pocatello Island, which is really hard to say. And I have no idea why why it's called Pocatello Island, but I'm terrible at saying it. So I'm probably going to be calling Pocatello Island Season 6 as a whole. I think it rolls off the tongue easier. And as a whole, Season 6 is a really, really gag-focused season. And your mileage will vary if you like the season. Most Total Drama fans, whenever they talk about Total Drama, the things they really, really like about the show are the character interactions. They really like the eliminations and like how people ally with each other and make game plans. Granted, a lot of times the game plans in Total Drama aren't like super complicated, but it's interesting to think about and talk with your friends of like who voted off who or who's allying with who. This season doesn't really have that quite at all. Nobody has any strategy, and it's just kind of going. It's not. If I were to describe it like this, a defender of Pockettail Island would go, "This is a bad season of Total Drama, but it's a good cartoon." I don't know if I really agree with that. I don't think it's that interesting of a cartoon show because a lot of the characters are not that interesting to watch, but there is Dave, so it has that going for it. So I want to quickly talk about the characters that surround Pockettail Island very briefly. A lot of them are just kind of fodder characters and are range from not being super funny to being kind of interesting. Most of them are not very funny. I think Beardo being the sound effects guy is kind of funny. Leonard, he's a wizard, but he's not actually doesn't have any actual powers. Gets voted off second episode.
He's based off some like meme, I think, of like a guy in a video.
It's like an SNL skit, I think. I don't fucking remember. It was some fucking bullshit meme. As a whole, a lot of the characters are really gimmicky, and I wish they were funnier. I wish this season was a lot funnier in general. I don't think a lot of the character humor works that well. A lot of the gags just don't really land for me. Like the whole they're eating like really weird food if they win a challenge is just like, why? I don't really find it all that funny to me personally.
From what I remember from the earlier seasons, this season seems like they really cranked up the like cartoonishness of everything.
They really did crank up the wackiness and cartooniness, which I wouldn't be completely opposed to, because I'm not like opposed to Total Drama doing wackier stuff, but I don't think the gags they do are just that funny in general. A lot of the characters are just not that interesting. It's kind of the point I want to drive home here. We got like a Dr. Evil clone. We got Scarlet, who's actually evil, but like not really. We got Sean, who's apparently a fan favorite. Sean and Jasmine, who are apparently both fan favorites, which I guess I kind of get it, but also I don't find Sean that interesting to watch. Like, he's constantly talking about zombies, how much zombies are taking over the world. Every single line he ever says, except for the 12th episode, is talking about some kind of fucking zombie bullshit. And to me, that's just really boring to me.
Yeah, I don't find that whole duo interesting at all. I don't really get why people I kind of half get why people find them endearing, but I did not find them endearing. I just thought they were both really one note and bland.
I think Jasmine's a bit more endearing because she's not just about she has like that whole intimidating thing where people are intimidated by her, which I think is kind of interesting. She's Australian, which they haven't done yet. She's tall and strong. I don't think she's like a super deep character, but I think she's more interesting to me anyways. Sean is just like, I don't like Sean very much.
I feel like she has overlapping characteristics with Sky, where they're both they're uber competent and they're like their head is in the game at all times. So a lot of like the things those two characters were doing felt like they were just like really similar, and they didn't do a good enough job, I feel like, of distinguishing those two characters.
I could kind of agree to that, but like, I mean, just a character being uber competent isn't enough to like to be overlapping to me. It's like you're gonna have people who try hard and you're gonna have people who don't care. I think if you do like the gags of the season, if you don't mind the gag focused season, I think you could probably find some enjoyment in the season. I know that there are a couple of people who really do like this season. I can see why they like it if they like the gag writing and they find the characters funny. But I only really find a couple characters that interesting. That being Dave and Sky. I think Dave is a really, really interesting character. And he's probably the most interesting character in the entire season. It's probably maybe one of my favorite characters of all Total Drama ever, which is, in the past, I would say he's like B or C tier, but now he's like probably one of my favorites. I think he's a really funny character to follow because he's an early archetype of a nice guy, which is something that is kind of unique to Total Drama, because I don't really know that many other cartoons, especially in 2014, that did nice guy stereotypes, like a nice normal guy. And it's interesting how like the nice guy turns out to be the most crazy of all the crazy characters they bring in. Dave earlier on the show is like kind of like a straight man to his team. I don't know what the fuck their team name is fucking stupid. I don't know what their team name was. but he's kind of like the straight man. He's like, oh, Leonard, you're stupid. You don't have wizard powers. I got a beatboxer on my team. He's worthless. Everybody on my team is fucking worthless, and I'm the only sane man here. And he serves as kind of a straight man, a snarky straight man. But as the season goes on, he grows to have an interest in a particular character, Sky, who is the athletic gymnast who burps a lot. By technicality, she is the second best character, but I don't know how much that's really saying, to be honest. I think her and Scott, her and Dave have really funny chemistry in general. But whenever they're not on screen together, they're like, Sky by herself's really boring to me.
I kind of feel the same way about Dave and Sky. Whenever the two aren't on screen, I don't really care about how they interact with the other characters. They're just kind of like there.
I mean, Dave kind of has like a friendship vaguely with Sean. They have like 3 scenes together, but I guess that kind of counts as a friendship. They're like friendly to each other. They almost kissed that one time, but then Sean runs off. So as a whole, Dave only really interacts with about 3 other characters. Dave and Sky, Dave and Sean, and Dave and Ella. Dave and Sky is very funny because Dave acts like a massive incel. His entire character is kind of like a Reddit incel kind of guy, which is, I think, really interesting for being a show that happened in 2014, where the incel Redditor wasn't really fully a stereotype, and if it really was, I wouldn't expect Cartoon Network to really talk about that. I don't know if Dave was intended to be a Redditor like incel, but he definitely does come off as one, and he definitely is written to be very unlikable. He's written to be like a villain kind of character, especially near the end. Dave comes into the island, and I don't think he really wants to. At a certain point later on this season, he doesn't even really want to win for the money anymore. He just wants to win. That way he can burn the money in front of Sky. He would rather vote himself off to keep Sky within the game. All he cares about is getting into a relationship with Sky. And Sky, bless her heart, is also kind of a bitch because she's not completely innocent here. She leads Dave on. She had a boyfriend outside of the show.
But if I do get on the show, I'll really miss my boyfriend Keith. My boyfriend was in the room when I made that audition tape. I had to say that. Truth is, I was going to dump him before I left, but ran out of time, and I really like Dave. My boyfriend, Keith. Dave, I can explain.
Ah! That was the butt? But I have a boyfriend? A boyfriend!
And she said that she was going to break up with him, but that makes it even worse, right? Sky's like kind of a bitch. And she's kind of like an anti-hero in a sense. She's kind of like an anti-hero, anti-villain. She's a loose cannon out for herself, and she will play with poor Dave's heart, even though he is kind of an asshole.
I misremembered the whole situation being like she had no interest in him, and Dave was one-sided relationship with Dave. But throughout the season, she makes it very clear that like, oh, I also have an interest in Dave.
She has like the burping thing, right, where she burps whenever she's near people she likes, which is weird. I don't know if that's some writer's fetish, but I don't judge. But yeah, like Sky does lead him on, and maybe Sky does feel some kind of love for Dave, but it blows up massively in their face, and they don't reconcile at the end, and Dave presumably dies at the end. Dave and Sean is also kind of a relationship. They kind of bounce off each other. They like almost kissed in the chicken episode. They're like kind of friendly to each other. I'm not sure how like. They have like 3 scenes together, which for Pocket Tail Island, that's like a hardcore friendship right there. They're friends to the end. And then Dave and Ella, Dave puts a shoe on Ella, and you would think a Redditor man would be like, oh my god, this Disney princess has fallen in love with me. I shall marry her.
I kind of set out this romantic picnic 'cause
I'm listening.
it's for someone very special.
Oh, David, I'm so...
And she's gonna be here any minute, so would you mind going away? Like, before Sky shows up?
This is for Sky? Of course it is. I'll just, you know...
But no, Dave is so oblivious and doesn't care at all. He's out there for Sky. That's all he cares about. And Ella's heart is broken, and nobody cares about her. And then she gets eliminated because she sang. Very, 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 very stupid. I don't like Ella very much. I'm sorry. I don't think she's very good. But yeah, as a whole, I think Dave's a really funny character. I think he has the most amount of funny lines in the entire show, in the entire season. Whenever he's on screen, it's like adding like screaming, like being really annoying. I think it's really funny to me because we're like laughing at him because he's like a massive Redditor idiot guy. He's a massive incel. He's getting his comeuppance. There's a scene where he's like, I'm a lone wolf. Ow! When Sky breaks up with him.
I'm a lone wolf. Ow! 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 Ow!
There's also the scene where he dreams that he's a Giga Chad, and he goes Sky.
No, that wasn't Dave doing that. That was Sky. That was Sky dreaming that Dave was a Giga Chad.
Oh, what? I forgot about that. That's crazy.
He was like offering Sky some berries, and Sky was like dreaming that he was some kind of fucking Giga Chad, which I think is really funny.
Sky, will you be my jungle queen?
What?
I said, want some berries? They're clean.
Some other good lines where, like, in the first episode, he's like, "Can I vote like 4 people off my team?" Because he's stuck on the fucking worthless ass team. Imagine being in Dave's position and you're on the fucking the Beardo Leonard Honey Boo Boo team. I would be like just like Dave. Like, fuck, dude, I'm on this shitty ass team with all these shitty people. Fuck.
And also another thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that throughout the whole season, Chris is like being like an extra asshole toward him, like more so than usual.
It's mostly for that one scene where where Sky re-rolls the thing and then rolls on Dave again, and then Chris like presses his buttons like, oh, Sky rolled on you, but she decided to roll again. Isn't that so horrible, Dave? Isn't that wonderful? And then during the final episode, when they got their audition tape, when Sky gets exposed for being would it be a hussy? I'm not sure the right word for it. She's a 2-timing hoe. She's a 2-timing. She's leading on Keith, her boyfriend, and Dave. How could you lead on Dave? Come on, man.
I mean, if Dave was interested in you, wouldn't you just like jump for joy and just immediately want to jump into a relationship with him?
Of course. If I spend time on an island with 14 other psychos and Dave is like the one guy there, and he's like, we spend like an entire 2 weeks together in a cave, I'm gonna fall in love head over heels with Dave. He is just that much of a Giga Chad incel kind of guy. He's kind of like a chud. He is kind of like a chud in a way.
He's a proto chud.
He's a chud. He was a chud before it was cool, and then he died at the end because we can't have chuds in our cartoons. They must all die. I like how instead of having like a power couple, they're the first. Sky and Dave are the first sour couple. Basically, their entire joke is they don't work for each other. They're a bad relationship. This was done later on in the reboot season with Chase and Emma, where Chase like an asshole YouTuber, and then Emma's like somehow head over heels with her. I think Chase and Emma are also like a decent pairing, but I think Dave and Sky are kind of funnier to me. I think they're funnier to me.
I think he's like a really funny character, and he's sort of like an archetype I don't really see, especially on kids' cartoons, almost ever. I just find the general like idea of like the sort of loser nice guy who's just constantly like getting the world is like constantly like punishing them. I find them kind of like partially endearing and partially like I kind of feel bad for him. Like I can relate to some aspects of him, minus like maybe the incel part.
What's funny about Dave is it's hard to like also feel for him because he's just such an annoying like asshole. So it's like. It's like yeah, you should feel endeared to him, but it's also like funny because he's like the world's crapping on him, and he's an asshole at the same time.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I do like Dave. I think he's my favorite character in the season. Not that there's much competition, but I do unironically really like Dave, and also Sky to an extent because their other character could just go suck it. They're not very good to me. They're not super interesting. Dave is very well hated among the total drama fandom. People consider me the worst character in the entire season and also in the entire show.
This dude makes me feel many emotions, most of them negative. Scratch that, all negative. He's either complaining over the stupidity of his teammates or wanting to get with Sky. And his voice, coupled with the complaining, makes it an unpleasant experience for both the audience and the people on screen. And his whining, oh dear God, his whining. It always irks me when a character just cries, mopes, and whines for a whole episode, and Dave does most of these, and does it in such an uninteresting way.
Oh my god, Dave's character derailment was one of the hardest things I had to watch. Suck it up, man!
Dave is the worst person in the entire world. Even before his little crybaby rage fest when he doesn't get his way. Every conversation he has with Sky is either filled with pitiful arrogance or embarrassing unconfidence.
He is the whiniest brat ever. I understand where they were going with his character, a germaphobe with emotional issues, but they already did a better version of him with Cameron, who they were able to make not whiny. Dave just doesn't shut up about how dirty and filthy everything is. He's supposed to be the straight man to the crazy behavior of the other contestants, but he complains about how they act so much that he just comes off as annoying. He wasn't terrible, though. That is, until the finale for the season came around. He goes entirely off the rail. Because Sky has a boyfriend back home despite wanting to be with Dave and also wanting to break up with the boyfriend, he basically tries to kill her and is happy when it looks like he does. Yeah, I hate him now. Boycott Dave, please.
Which is just like, I can understand not liking Pocket Tail Island because maybe you don't like you don't find the characters that funny, and maybe you don't find Dave all that funny. Because I can understand not finding the concept of like a Redditor, like a nice guy Redditor being crapped on and like fucking lusting after a girl being that funny. Like I get it, right? I can understand. I can understand finding his brand of humor that funny, but I think people take Dave way too seriously. Like they prescribe real world morals on a cartoon character. Like if Dave was real, I would not want to hang out with him. But in this hyper-realistic cartoon world, I think Dave is really, really funny.
I do find, like, the fact that people are watching and enjoying the show, the whole franchise, with all these horrible, like, asshole characters, like Chris and all these other characters, but they, for some reason, they arbitrarily draw the line at Dave. I think it might just have to do with, like, the whole one-sided relationship, I guess, because people don't like watching a guy, I guess, creep on a girl. But to me, like, that's sort of like the joke is the fact that he's being a creep and that it's like he's pathetic. I think that's the joke.
I could understand, like, to a certain extent, if you don't find him funny, that's fine. But I think people take him too seriously. They say he's the worst character ever because he's an asshole to other characters. Which is like, that's the entire point. He's not a good person. He's not a good person. Would you ever hate Heather because she's an asshole she's an asshole to Gwen and reads her diary? No, you like that because it's good drama. Now, is it executed well? Well, I think it's executed pretty well. I think there is good build up for Dave going through his whole arc, right? There's build up to it. The show justifies his behavior in a way that makes it so like, oh, he's a pathetic loser, let's laugh at him. I think the show does a good job justifying his behavior to an extent. There's so many there's a lot of videos out there about Dave just being like the worst character. And the idea is that he's the worst character because he just is. He's the worst character because he's an asshole and he's boring. Which to me, he's the most interesting character to watch because whenever he's on screen, he's usually doing something stupid or like fucking lusting after Sky.
He also like fits into an archetype I don't think I've seen that many times of a sort of like whiny like crybaby male character. You don't really like see that super often. Because I think
I guess most people just don't like that kind of archetype, which is, I guess,
most people get like really up in arms about it, and they're like, "This guy's he's not manly," or "he's fucking pussy." Like they get really mad at it.
He's annoying.
Yeah, it's like another element I think why people get mad at him because they're like, because they don't want to see a guy crying and like being a little bitch.
I think in cartoon realities, people are allowed to be little bitches. I think it's perfectly reasonable. I guess as a whole, if you're gonna rewatch Total Drama Pocket Tail Island, I don't know if I give it necessarily a full-on recommendation, but I do give it one recommendation because it has Dave in it. If it didn't have Dave and Sky in it, I would not like the season at all. But because it has Dave and Sky and there's a couple of funny gags I like, I think it's overall a decent season.
The real question is, will Dave ever return? Or is he
No.
canonically dead?
He's probably died. Did you watch the episode? He died. The fucking bear got him. The bear fucking killed him.
Didn't like Ezekiel or whatever survive worse things than that? I feel like
We saw him. We saw him at the end. We saw Ezekiel afterwards. Maybe he'll turn to Feral Dave. We'll get Feral Dave along with Feral Ezekiel.
I'll be a little disappointed if he returns ever in any kind of capacity and they just turn him into a complete like evil like gremlin character instead of like having some level of being down to earth.
Yeah, as a whole, I do really like Dave. I think he's really funny. I don't want to say I love Sky, but I like Dave and Sky. I think their anti-relationship is funny. And overall, I think Total Drama is I think it's a decent show. I
remember you tried to show me. We tried to rewatch the first season together, and I really just did not care for the first season. Personally.
You don't like ensemble. You don't like shows with too many characters in it, Gray. You like shows with really small, tight knit casts. If it has too many characters, you can't keep track of it all.
There's too many characters. I didn't really latch on to any of the characters from season 1, like any of the archetypes. I thought they were all just kind of like mid. And even with nostalgia, I was still like, Then it just really wasn't into season 1 at all.
I wonder if the Total Drama fans are gonna come to this and get really annoyed that you don't like Total Drama ensemble cast.
Nah, sorry. I only like Dave. Is the only Total Drama character I like. Sorry.
Based.
All the other characters suck. You know what this season was lacking in though also was there was a whole lot of burping and not a whole lot of farting, which I know that's what Canadian cartoons are known for.
I travel the world collecting everyone's farts. Anytime you've ever farted, I've been there.
There's someone in Teletoon staff who really has a thing for that. And I'm not gonna say anymore.
Wasn't it like the news reboot where characters were constantly farting?
You guys are disgusting. It took me by surprise, is all I'm trying to...
Wow.
Yeah, that was one episode, but I don't like it. That episode sucked.
The only way they'll get me to watch a new season of Total Drama is if Dave is in it, honestly.
No, they should make an entire season just dedicated to Dave's life, a life in the day of Dave. And it's like some fucking Dan versus the world kind of show, where it's like...
He's just miserable.
He's just miserable. He's like a loser incel, and nobody likes him. And Sky broke up with him. He turns into like the Joker. Or something. Joker.
I would like to see him continue his Joker descent. I think one critique I have is I kind of wish there was more of him going on his Joker downward spiral. It only really happens in the last few episodes.
It goes on for like two halves of like one episode. Like it's had this like the night episode, the zombie night Juggy Chunks episode. They have like a whole like him kind of crashing out, turning to Joker. And at the very end, he was also crashing out and turning into Joker. If there was one full episode of like full-on Joker, incel, Dave, that would be so peak.
The Dave haters kind of overblow how long he spends being kind of like a Joker incel guy. He doesn't spend that much of the season being evil.
He spends like half an episode being a true villain.
The rest, he's just kind of whiny and just like clingy and annoying.
What can I say? I really like characters who start off as like a whiny incel and then turn into massive villains. I like that archetype a lot. It's not done super often, but I do like it whenever it's done.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Dave's funny. Watch Dave go crazy.
Watch Dave go.
Tune in next time we talk about whatever we talk about next. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time.
Goodbye, every pony.
Goodbye, every pony. Stay Davey.
Oh!